Hey everyone, and welcome to Comedians on Technology, People and Drugs. I'm your host, as always, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have comedian Simi Rajani on the podcast. Hey Simi, it's really great to have you with us. Thanks so much for sharing your time.
I am so happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yay! Now, you're a very funny person, and I'm sure that the audience is on the edge of their seat, as they always are, to understand better your comedy origin story. Was it that you were adopted by a mad comedy titan who sort of trained you to be like a sort of a comedy warrior taking over planet after planet throughout the universe? How did it all start?
So actually, it does, I think, involve some kind of divine intervention,
Oh.
frankly, because I mean, essentially started comedy about a year after graduating from my master's. So I had just like kind of entered the workforce, and I run my own small business. So unlike maybe some other people my age, I wasn't going to an office, so to say,
Uh-huh.
where I could
Uh-huh.
meet other, young folks and like make
Right,
new
right.
friends. So that just isolation kind of caused me to like really fall into a depression.
Oh.
And I don't know, it's actually crazy because it was Diwali day that
Mm.
I got this thought. And I'll be honest, I'm not really a religious person like at all, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like really weird that this idea came to me on Diwali day
Mm.
because growing up I did speech and debate. And so I was
Okay.
like, well, I want to do, something creative, some kind of extracurricular, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
for given's sake. And I thought, what could I do with, speech? Like public speaking is the one thing I know
Mm-hmm.
how to do well. And I
Mm.
figured, I guess like stand up is a good route.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this idea, and it wasn't maybe until a couple weeks that it actually like really even materialized in my mind. And the
Mm.
first person that I mentioned this to was my cousin Karishma.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually my second cousin, so I got much closer to her
Mm-hmm.
after I moved to England. Like we didn't know each other very well prior.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my cousin, I said, I'm thinking about, trying at stand up. I don't know how it would work. Maybe there's
Mm.
open mics. And she looked at me and she said, Simi, our cousin is a stand-up comedian and
Mm.
he runs a comedy club and he will help you.
Mm-hmm.
And just like within a day, I texted him saying that I was trying to look into it. I rode with him to his two gigs that he had that night, and it's history. And I did my first set at Baxter Comedy Club, which is, his comedy club. I would say now it's our comedy club. And yeah, and the rest is history. But I do think just the way this all fell together, it seems like a really random thought to do stand up out of the blue, and
Right.
to have someone in your family who's like really experienced in that was just, yeah, it
Amazing.
happens for a reason. So
Yeah. Well, well, so interested to hear the story, and well, and I guess it's interesting. You got to. So for many people, stand up is kind of it's the last thing they think of doing. It's something they're terribly afraid of. I mean, like public speaking is kind of like the number one fear above death. But it sounds like you'd never had a particular problem with public speaking. Is that right?
I mean, I would say that I do have a lot of anxiety, and no matter what, but for some people know, for me it's just like some people know how to sing, some people know how to dance, play an instrument. I just know how
Right.
to talk. So I guess that's my thing. Like if somebody asked me to do sing a song or something in front of people, I would, oh my God. I don't know, I would totally
You're not
have
a
a heart
singer. You're not.
attack.
That's not
Definitely
your
not.
thing.
No, except in the shower and to my dog.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, right. But so it was. I mean, I was definitely a voluminous talker when I was young, but I think I was quite shy if I didn't know people. But you were, you was happily chatting away, and also, you didn't have any fear of talking in front of people. Just it didn't never happened. You were just always ready to go.
I mean, yeah, and I was also like, I was part of the National Speech and Debate Association, like in high school from about, well, even in middle school, from about the eighth grade till I graduated. When I
Yeah.
graduated high school, I graduated ranked the second best original orator in the country.
Wow.
So this was very much my sport, so to say. So
Mm.
it was like a lot that probably tens of thousands of dollars, even more than that, have gone into my public speaking training and competing around the country every single weekend.
Right.
I was just traveling. I missed a lot of school, honestly, because of how involved I was. So this was like very much like a serious thing, and it's like a really huge organized organization and institution in the US.
Right,
So
right.
this played a really big role in my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, it's second in the US is extraordinary, and but yeah, I mean, it's clearly like it's the fear of public speaking that puts so many people off the idea of doing stand up, and so you had one hurdle knocked out of the way, which is great. And then, but so what was your familiarity with stand up to that point before that Diwali? I mean, had you seen it on television? I mean, we obviously don't know why you happened to be thinking of it that day. I mean, it's, as you say, like, speaking, standing up and speaking, yes, and so on. But what was your understanding of stand up before that day?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan. Well, even at that time, I'm a huge fan of Veer Das,
Right.
who is a fabulous comedian.
Mm.
Particularly as a political scientist by trade, actually, technically.
Uh-huh.
Um, for me, his comedy was not just standing up there and making a joke, but it was making some kind of greater statement. And
Right.
that has an impact on people, comments on the political state of our world in some way. For him,
Mm-hmm.
he talks a lot about like, India, the US, like those
Sure.
concepts. And so and I still haven't gotten there yet for sure, but I have always wanted to, because it's hard to achieve in 5 minutes or 7 minutes, but
Sure.
like I've always wanted to do that as well, for the comedy to be more than just making people laugh, but
Right.
also saying something meaningful
Mm-hmm.
behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that is a real skill also.
Yeah, well, yeah,
So,
absolutely. I think, yeah, the most exciting comedians are the ones who, as they get out of that, 5-7, they do longer and they do things that are thought provoking in all sorts of different ways, don't they?
yeah.
That's fantastic. Yes, yes. And but I guess I'm just sort of thinking about, for some people, there are people who came up doing, acting or like in your case, public speaking. I think there are actors certainly and maybe even public speakers who then the idea of right now I'm in a context where I'm not just saying something, but the pressure is on to laugh. It wasn't daunting to you when you first had the idea, and I'd love to
Oh
hear
no,
about that.
it's
That
still daunting to
oh, okay,
me.
so
That's what you were saying. You were like, a lot of people have a fear of public speaking. For
mm,
me, it's kind of the opposite in that
right,
I don't think I'm funny. Like, I'll be
ah,
honest, I don't think I'm funny. I think I really have to sit down and think about these clever jokes that I write. I'm
mm,
not a slapstick comedian. Like,
mm,
I'm not good at like one-liners. I'm more of a
mm,
storyteller and like almost like a commenter on these greater issues.
mm-hmm.
Um, and so being funny is the thing that is intimidating to me,
Okay.
less so going up there and being able
Right.
to speak. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes. And indeed, I think many people are intimidated by that. And then so, but you had the idea. Were you when you had the idea and it was, oh yeah, let's see if we can do this. Did you have to steel yourself to get there, or it was not until you actually found yourself on stage doing it that it was then kind of like, oh wow, no, I've dropped myself in it kind of thing. Tell us
So
about how that worked.
like the first gig.
Yeah.
Well, I did go, of course, like watch a little bit of, just this open mic
Sure.
circuit.
Sure.
Specifically at Backstreet because I was planning to do my first gig there.
Right.
And
Right.
really when I went, I mean, coming from this very intense institution of speech and debate where there are very strict rules and every single person comes prepared, like
Okay.
I very much realized how low the stakes were. And I was like, oh, like I was kind of like, all right, like this is not that bad. I could definitely do
Mm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I went up and I did that first set and it wasn't bad. I mean, I never did it again after that. It wasn't bad, but I think I did have the confidence and ability to get through the 5 minutes completely memorized as I had been
Right.
trained to do
Mm, mm, mm.
um properly. And yeah, I mean the reaction from my cousin brother and like a lot of our other friends was that that was half the battle,
Yeah. Right.
so yeah, it kind of, I was nervous of course, but I felt really happy and positive afterwards,
Mm.
especially I think even now, like with us, when we run gigs, I was just
Yeah.
talking about it the other day, but I always think it was such an honor to have a first timer in
Right.
in your
Oh yeah,
comedy
absolutely.
club. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, and big shout out to Paris who runs, the Backstreet Comedy Club is, going from strength to strength. It's a great venue. Everybody, get down there. It's in Hammersmith. Wonderful, wonderful place. And yeah, so as you were sort of saying, yeah, with the speech and debate, there are all these sort of rules and this, that, and the other that so preparing for something like like this, we're saying, right, I need to speak for this amount of time. Blah, blah, blah. That was all done. And then it was yeah, the gosh, my brain on not on fire today, or should it be on fire? What's it going to do? Yeah, clearly so much of the mechanics there, and then part of that's as you say, half the trick is just carrying it. Like you go up there, you've got some things to say, not bolting from the stage is the key thing. So like just carrying on, and however the audience interacts, you carry on and get through, and then that is the mechanism. You get up and you repeat and you do it again and again, and you keep getting feedback. You get feedback. You work on the jokes. You get feedback. You work on the jokes. The rest
Mhm.
is history or comedy or something. Yeah, wow. And so having done that first gig, you felt elated. You felt, oh, I must do this again. But you waited for a year. How did it progress after that?
Um, I definitely was really, really hardcore excited in the beginning. I mean, I'm still excited for sure, but
Yeah.
in the beginning particularly, I definitely came out of that being like, wait, I think I could do this. Like, this
Uh-huh.
is something I could do. And I do know people who have gone to the first gig and they're just like, no, like this
Right.
is
Not for
not for
them.
me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, that wasn't the case. I definitely felt like I was capable and I started, completely going through the whole open mic circuit, including at Sunset, all the regulars
Hmm.
spots. And yeah, just slowly just building some basic kind of cultural content and stuff. Soon I didn't rush to start posting on social media. I did want to
Hmm.
be like more consistent. So it was after I had kind of built some confidence and
Right.
bits that I actually started, going online with it. Um, and now, because I feel like I'm at a point where honestly, maybe I've overwhelmed myself a bit too much with running shows because I'm
Ah.
running like three shows, like pretty
Hmm.
much independently.
Right.
Uh, Women's night at Backstreet Comedy Club. I'm running
Hmm.
the Gorilla comedy show on the Tube.
Hmm.
And I'm doing the Hindi night at Sunset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I think I have maybe overwhelmed myself a bit too much with that, and I need to kind of regulate because I want to get back and more focused on the content and social media because that's kind of where most of the game is, I think, online. It's less so in person. Like, I mean, to get more opportunities and things. So I've slowed down with my own posting and content just because
Right.
I'm so busy and it
Yeah.
plays on
Yeah.
my mind every day that I need to do something about it.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yes. Well, no, we'll circle back to that in the tech section. Some of the stuff we've talked to people about recently, and other podcasts I've been listening to. But I'm just, can you share more? Because the listeners, of course, won't be familiar with what you're doing, the comedy on the tube. Tell us how that concept came into fruition, and how's it going?
Yeah, I basically got the idea
Hmm.
to do a live gorilla comedy show on the tube, like a proper show with, a full lineup
Right,
essentially.
right.
Not just me alone standing on the tube. And I hadn't seen anything like this be done before. I
Uh-huh.
did reach out to TFL before our first show in order to
Mm.
inquire with TFL Arts,
Right, right.
contact. So I did get in touch with them to see if this would be okay, but they never
Uh,
got back to me.
right, right,
So
right.
probably they have bigger issues. So finally, we did the first show about maybe I want to say about 2 months ago.
Mm.
Because I was traveling in the middle and so
Yeah.
busy. But we did that almost like a trial show.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was amazing. There was
Mm-hmm.
technical difficulties. Like for instance, I didn't have a big enough speaker, or the
Mm-hmm.
speaker wasn't loud enough, and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which now I have fixed for
Mm-hmm.
the next show, which is coming on October 18th, which will be
Mm.
very exciting.
Mm.
But it was an amazing energy. People essentially, in order to for anybody listening, if
Yeah.
in order to actually go to the show, you just follow us, Tube Comedy London on Instagram and DM
Mm.
us. We will send you the secret location
Mm.
that the show what line essentially and what
Sure, sure.
it'll start at. Um, and in order to be part of it, this next one is actually an open mic. It's not just chosen comedians
Okay.
because yeah. However, the main focus is really just interacting with the people that are getting on and off the
Sure.
tube. It's a
Yeah.
late night, 9 p.m. show on a
Right.
Saturday night. So it's like 9
Hmm.
to about 11:30.
Hmm.
So it catches a lot of people going out or coming
Sure.
back from dinner, and
Hmm.
they're honestly down for a good time. I was nervous about how
Right, right.
people would react, but we're respectful in that this is not like a gotcha cam, you
Right,
know?
right.
Everybody we have a big sign that says exactly what we're doing. If people
Yeah.
don't want to be annoyed by it, they don't need to be.
You're right,
But
right. They could just get on the next carriage or whatever. Yeah, we're
yeah,
not doing it in rush hour. Yeah, fantastic.
exactly. So, but based on our experience, really, everybody was happy to see something exciting going on.
Yeah.
People were taking videos and stuff. So
Yeah.
it was really a great time and a unique experience for all the comedians. I'm very excited for the next one.
I mean, it's a brilliant concept. I'm terribly envious that you're coming up with this amazing sort of radical. It's just it's fantastic. I think it smacks of like huge success to come. I suspect.
I
Um,
hope. Oh, knock on wood. I
yeah.
think that that huge success will come once I get down this social media editing. I need to make time for that because that's kind of, I think, part of the charm of it, that you're able to record the whole thing really
Right.
professionally
Mm.
and put that together and put it online, which is it's easier said than done in my experience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that nicely segues into our next question, which is about how technology is affecting your life in comedy. And by technology, I don't just mean social media, but obviously that's part of it. I mean, there's also, the technology that we use to, create jokes, or, are there AIs involved or whatever. But we can certainly start with the social media, it's, I guess social media is part of the landscape, but it keeps on changing. Yeah, let's go straight in for the question. How do you feel technology is having an impact on your life and comedy at the moment?
Ugh, it's totally overwhelming me and I wish it didn't exist. That is the truth. I mean, I mean, it's the most un-Indian thing about me, but I totally am a grandma when it comes to anything technology, IT related.
Hmm.
I just think it's so tedious,
Hmm.
and kind of a pain in the butt. Um,
Mm.
so, and I'm not familiar with things like even changing the settings. I bought a nice camera so I could use that I could
Hmm.
use. But then just even making sure all the settings are correct and then charging it and then needing disk space on my computer to upload all these videos because
Mm.
they're such
Mm.
huge
Mm.
files and then trying to edit and then send to people. Oh my God, I am totally, I just wish I could have some invisible assistant with me all the
Right.
time that
Right.
took
Right.
care of
Right.
that. So it's my fault. I do need to take more time and do more learning when it comes to technology, and whether it's the hardware when it comes to, your camera or whatever it
Right.
is,
Right.
or, social media. It's all just a little overwhelming because
Okay.
it adds so many factors to what
Hmm.
is supposed to be a simple, I plan my comedy, my
Right.
jokes, and I go and I perform. It
Hmm.
adds like a whole separate,
Yeah.
thing. And I struggle with that in my business as well.
Okay.
But it's just like a two-way thing because I have to really care about social media on both of these ends for both my
Hmm.
comedy and my business.
Right.
It's just a lot. And sometimes I think I'm so intimidated by it that I procrastinate a bit when it comes
Okay.
to that.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I don't know if that's a popular answer, but no, I wish technology didn't exist.
I think it's definitely people have very mixed feelings about it. I mean, you're sort of alluding to the incredible universe of possibilities that are created by it. Certainly, speaking to people recently like Callum McKenzie or Dylan Harris, and I think. I don't know if I'm putting words in their mouths. Certainly, I was maybe Dylan Harris and Ollie Miller. This idea that as a comedian, you must take your material and you must cut it up and you must put it on social media, and that is a route to success. And I was in those previous episodes, not that I disbelieve that, in some cases, but I wonder. how that necessarily can work. I mean, I was recently listening to the comedian Matteo Lane, and this is for a couple of years ago on Pete Holmes' podcast, and he was talking about, his inability to kind of really make progress, and how for him he had kind of like an hour that no one was picking up, and he did cut it up into little pieces and put it on, I think, Instagram Reels,
Mhm.
and it seems like as a direct result of that, he ended up started to selling out shows and being able to do theaters, and his a comedy career was taking off the back of that. I mean, I know a comedian in BJ Fox in the not US, sorry, in Japan, who and he had, like a person, a younger person at his comedy club who was doing that cutting up for him. He was like, I don't want to deal with TikTok. But the side effect of that is that he's now touring around Japan and other things. So it clearly, if you can get, your material in front of that audience through that mechanism, it's a way to bypass some of the existing gatekeepers in the very competitive world of comedy. So there,
Yes.
yeah,
That is the pro that you can really get the exposure from it.
right,
And even actually what's crazy is that I really only have like I have a few videos,
mm,
many some of which are in Hindi because I do comedy in Hindi
right,
as
right,
well. But some are in Hindi that have done pretty well, like
yeah,
whatever, 10 to 20,000,
mm-hmm,
views or
mm-hmm,
whatever. But I have one video
yes,
that has gone absolutely viral.
mm,
I don't even know how much, must be at 300,000
yeah.
roughly like views on Instagram Reels that was literally in a 5-minute set that I was doing at open mic at Sunset Comedy Club.
Yes, indeed. I remember it well.
So that is the beauty of social media that you could be doing some random open mic
Right.
anywhere and just that clip, like the people online, like they don't know
No,
that
right.
this is you're a first time comedian. You could basically take clips and gain success and opportunities more so
Right.
than anything
Mm,
just through that. So that is definitely the pro and the beauty of it.
mm.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, no, and I think that but it's interesting. I mean, I think you're talking about the negative side of it being the sort of the faff, as it were, the rigmarole of the camera and the cutting and the editing and this, that, and the other. I mean, for me personally, I come from a sort of tech background. It's all computers, and
Right.
I kind of, I'm not, I'm looking at old school. I mean, I'm now cutting my stuff, I'm putting on TikTok and starting to get, I mean, ever such a tiny bit of traction there. But although I seem to spend all my time tinkering with the AIs to build a better system to automate the captioning of the
Mhm.
system, when probably I might be better off spending money doing that. I don't know. But the thing that I find is that the dangerous thing is getting, like I want to put content up, but I have to be like really, really careful not to what's the word? Not to get sucked into watching the stuff. Like I find TikTok incredibly addictive.
Addictive. Yes,
Right.
that's true.
And I just wondered about your when you were sort of talking about the difficulties of the social media being in terms of actually getting your publishing, but do you find yourself getting stuck in a sort of a social media rabbit hole that starts eating up your time?
Sometimes, I mean, sometimes usually on a lazy day.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So not too much. I mean, I do like have the screen time limits also, so on my
Okay.
phone. So if I am online too long, it'll tell me. But no, I mean, definitely, I think we're most of us at some point or another fall victim to that on a weekly
Right.
basis, probably. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's taking away so much time from me that I could probably be dedicating to something else. Like it's not that bad.
Right.
But I think that one thing that maybe is intimidating is that when I do consume content and more so than even these comedy clips, almost like the more influencer style
Hmm.
content,
Mm.
I realized like these people, it's so funny, but I have gained respect for the influencers and all this because they post multiple times a day on
Mm.
multiple platforms at particular times in order
Right.
to get, the algorithm to favor them
Yeah.
and however it is they have a good hook in the beginning. I mean, there's a lot of thought and writing and stuff that goes into that.
Right.
So I think that even with us doing comedy, there are, of course, comedians and people who have built their full career simply on posting their comedy content and they do what they do. But
Right.
I personally think I could do it if I had the time and resources to
Right.
do not only the comedy, but pair it with, kind of more I'm living comedy and, being funny on a daily basis, vlogging or something along
Right.
those lines. And that would be what would, posting mul would be able to allow you to
Right,
post.
right. Yeah, like hypothetically, if you didn't have that business, if you were, independently wealthy or, whatever, you could spend all of your time and then, the comedy and yeah, I mean, clearly you could kind of get the biggest acceleration from being able to put
Yeah.
your the full amount of time into it, which is of course, the sort of, I guess it's a bit like a startup where people are sort of, having to, right, I'm gonna quit my job and go full time on this startup or this comedy, person that I am or whatever. Yeah, it's and so yeah, I mean, it's a funny old world. In terms of the, part of the question about the technology is it often a thinly veiled facade for me to like understand more about people's the way that they come up with their comedy. But so in terms of independently of that whole social media side, which is about sort of like trying to get it out there to people, just in terms of you developing your own comedy and getting better as a comedian, do you use technology or are you doing everything on a notepad and pen and trying to keep it real?
I'm very much a notepad and pen type of girl. Usually I get a 3 a.m. thought in my mind
Right.
that is like hilarious. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
wow, like this is such a great joke. And I'll just be on the verge of falling asleep and have to pull my phone from my night table
Right.
and literally like jot down what I'm thinking in that moment and then kind of expand on it and stuff
Right.
maybe next day when
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
the time. I don't know why this happens to me. I don't know if this is common
I
across.
think it's I mean pretty much everybody that we speak to is and everybody that I know is always taking notes in their phone and how frequently it's so certainly I have my phone. I mean, this is one of the things we talk about with like one can get overwhelmed with looking at content. I think it was Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post. She has a rule now of like no devices in the bedroom because she was just finding herself, like just continually checking. I mean, what I'd do, I always put my phone into airplane mode in my bedroom, but I wouldn't not have it there because like if I had to write down on a notepad and pen in the middle of the night, I have to turn the light on and
Right.
it's like yeah, if I've got a thought, I want to put that straight in. I think that's very very common. And then do you I mean, you mentioned notepad and pen, but obviously in the middle of the night, it's the thing when are you coming back to it each day and sort of putting aside an hour to say type it up on a laptop or write out notes in how does the ongoing development of the material look like?
Usually, I mean, kind of have a system now. So usually I'll just kind of write out the whole set, make sure I know how many real punchlines there are in
Mm,
that story, whatever the greater concept is. Uh,
yeah,
I'll try it, of course, a couple of times. And now I've found it really useful, essentially, in my little comedy notebook that in the 10 minutes, right, we have 600 seconds.
yeah,
And ideally, right? I mean, it's an ideal world, but
sure, sure,
ideally, I'd like to have a laugh every 10 seconds, give or
yeah.
take. Now, each of
Right.
those doesn't have to be, of course, like a big laugh. Some could be
Sure,
like a chuckle or like a build up to
yeah,
something
yeah.
worth it. But now what I do is I try to make sure that I'm able to fit enough content. I'll write down, okay, like I want whatever 50 jokes, like whatever for
Mm,
argument's sake
mm,
in this set of however long it is. And
mm,
I will write each just a word, that will identify each laugh or punchline
mm-hmm,
to make sure that I'm not wasting too much time on context
mm, mm,
essentially because I
mm.
think that's a problem I've had before. And they say for the Netflix, I know it's crazy, but for the Netflix special, you need to
Right.
have a laugh every 7 seconds or some crazy
I
stuff
mean,
like that. So,
I mean, chance would be a fine thing. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, and I noticed you're mentioning, you kind of got a word for it. So you're not scripting out the entire thing word for word. You're kind of like, here are the beats, here are the things I'm going to hit. But then when you're on the
no, I do.
stage,
I do
oh, you
script it
do.
out. I do
Okay,
script it out first, so that and while I kind of memorize it and practice it, but then later I'll just kind of point out these words for me to indicate to myself
okay.
exactly. how many,
Right.
punches I have in there.
Yeah, and when you say practice it, do you mean you practice it each time on stage, or you'll practice it like kind of like with a in front of a mirror, or how
Oh
does?
yeah, I have my little fake mic in my house. I
Right.
practice it in my house with my dog as the only listener staring at me like who is this girl talking to? Quite literally. I don't even like practicing in front of like other people and stuff. I just like to
Mm,
practice it
mm.
by myself, then go straight on the stage
Right,
and
right.
see
Yeah.
how.
And is that similar to what you used to do with the speech and debate? Is if you were you're using the same sort of technique as you used before?
Yes, yes, and that was is what I would do, stand in front like of my parents in my living room.
Yeah.
For the speech and debate, because it was like I was part of my school team though,
Mm.
like it was much more involved, I would say, with other people, with coaches
Oh, okay.
and with teammates, even my parents like have,
Mm.
given me a lot of help and advice. But that situation is also more so an informative speech and less dependent on the reaction of the
Sure,
audience.
sure.
Whereas comedy is so dependent on the reaction of the audience. And in my experience, I've noticed that like sometimes one person sitting in your house won't get the joke, but then
Sure.
when you do that joke in the comedy club, it goes just fine.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like basically putting the worth of the joke or anything on anybody. I don't want
Right.
anyone's opinion
No,
until
no,
I
no.
hear it, because otherwise I might even doubt myself.
Sure. Yeah,
So
yeah. No, and they are absolutely very different situations. And I think, yeah, you can often have your friends laughing at a joke and you think, oh yes, this will work well in the comedy club, and then it doesn't, and vice versa. So it's yeah,
yeah.
no, that sounds like a reasonable strategy. And then so are you using technology to record yourself and then meticulously analyzing your performance after having done a set, or how does that work for you usually?
Yes, I mean, my brother Paris has taught me, always record yourself, even in the bad set. You need to go
Right.
back, rewatch it, see what worked, see what didn't, and improve on that, cut down where you need to, and just edit. I think it's a really good exercise.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I dread rewatching my own video if it went badly, but
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do, and that's how
Right.
we grow and improve, right? So
No, I couldn't agree more. And you don't have any problem watching yourself back or listening to the sound of your own voice, which some people do struggle with.
I do cringe a bit, to be honest, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It's
it
just like a
hasn't been
band-aid you
a
gotta rip.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think all the comedians, I forget who we were speaking to. Somebody was saying like that they, didn't like it, but they've learned to get over it. And the listeners will know that, of course, this is the point at which I say I'm one of a small number of comedians, and not the only one, but actually, I really that's the highlight of my evening is watching myself back afterwards. For some reason, I'm so into.
Really?
Yeah, no, no. I mean, it's the most. I think it was Philip Reese was saying, yeah, he
Oh.
particularly didn't like it. I mean, it's. I think what they say is that for most people, the difference between their mental image of what they look like and sound like to what it actually is so. And yeah, gosh.
That's true.
Anyway, see all the previous the listeners are going boring. Sam, go on, go talk about Simi. But the yeah, I'm just. I find it there's something so magical I find about being able to watch yourself back and to be able to record oneself so easily because back in the day getting a video of yourself was so difficult but yeah and then I guess the way you describe it you're not kind of using AIs or thesaurus or online site like the ideas that you're having for the comedy are just they're sort of like knocking off your everyday experiences and you're writing little notes and then you're expanding them and that's like it's all Simi when the comedy's being created.
Yeah, definitely. Like, not only my everyday experiences, actually another place that I'll be honest has to do with technology as well that I get sometimes inspiration from is of course the news.
Mm.
But also more so, which is the comment section underneath certain like some kind of current event,
Oh,
because
okay.
sometimes people in the comments are really funny. And they might
uh,
just say one thing, like one
yeah.
word, that could then for me inspire a full 5 minute set.
Wow. Okay.
Um, so I definitely, yeah, I think that has a role sometimes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, that's a
Depending.
fantastic comedy hack. Thanks for sharing that. That's great.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
don't steal my plan.
Yeah, well, no, I won't because I don't watch any mass media news and I kind of like fastidiously avoid. I sort of stay away from the news and only get news through people. But anyway, well, no, we can edit that out. Listeners, don't steal Simi's comedy hack.
No, kidding, kidding.
Well, let's slide on to our next question, which is the question is which people have had the biggest impact on your life and comedy? And often people, in describing the comedy origin story, they've already named many of the people who had the biggest impact, the most important relationships. Was there anyone else that you can think of to mention besides obviously it was your cousin Karishma Paras? Anybody else who had a really big impact on where you are today?
Yes, definitely. No, my friends, I don't know, you probably know Diesel and Bamf are also like
Yeah.
very good friends. And we all spend a lot of time together. So I can always trust on their honesty when it comes to my comedy. And, I think we've all just helped each other and they've helped me get so many opportunities as well. So definitely them, definitely my parents also.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I do think that they're the most honest with me.
Hmm.
My parents in Paris are the most honest with me. They will give me their real opinion, no matter what. So definitely grateful for all of them. I think and you.
Oh.
What am I saying? And you. You have given me so many opportunities that I've been so grateful for. And, even when it's a small thing, being paid 25 pounds to do a
Hmm.
comedy night, for
Hmm.
me, it feels like a really big achievement, and
Hmm.
a big thing. So yeah, I think all of you are the
Oh
most
well, that's
impactful people.
that's the first time I've appeared in that list, and thank you so much.
Really, that's
It's
crazy. You are always giving us all the opportunities, truly, and I'm so grateful for it.
No, my pleasure. And actually, I had forgotten because Dylan's going to murder me now, but he did actually thank me in the same way for giving him a similar opportunity at Sunset Comedy. But it is now great the little community that we've got going with Sunset, and that you're doing the Hindi night there, which is absolutely fantastic, and we've got the opportunity now for other nights and so on. So here's to many future successes on all
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
fantastic. Yeah.
The
Do
Hindi
you?
night has been a real success, actually. The first one was okay, okay, and the last
Hmm.
two have been huge bangers. They were
Brilliant.
really fun. So,
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Yes, yes. And as people, some listeners, I think we have listeners all over the world. Harrow has many Hindi-speaking residents
yeah.
residing in the Harrow area. Gosh, I can't speak. But in terms of influences on the bigger stage, you mentioned Via Daz. Are there any other particular comedians who inspire you and get you out of bed in the morning?
I know I know it's messed up, but I love like just like the classics. Like I love like a good Jerry Seinfeld.
Right.
I love Jerry
Sure.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I mean also I'm I guess I love Maximini.
Mm.
I watched him live recently as well, which is
Hmm.
amazing. Another person who I really look up to, Sindhu V.
Oh, yes, yes.
I'm a huge fan and supporter of her. And I also got to meet her recently because
Wow.
I went to like Watford Fringe
Uh-huh.
and she was the MC of this awesome show. Um,
Mm.
and what was crazy was that I just tried and I shot my shot. I went to this somebody who was helping everybody usher essentially. And
Hmm.
I just asked, I said, I'm a stand-up comedian. Like, I would love to like meet the comedians. Do you think I can go?
Uh-huh.
And they
Uh-huh.
let me go backstage
Oh,
and I
wow.
met Sindhu and uh I think his name is Anubhav Mishra, this other
Oh,
Indian
yeah.
comedian. I think
Mm.
is his name, but that could be wrong.
Sure.
That could be a total lie. So
Well, reality, it's all fake news these days. So,
But that was awesome. Oh gosh, there's so many. I don't even know where to.
no,
I
but
recently met Marcelo Hernandez, who
oh,
was
yeah.
on SNL. I met him at the Bad Bunny concert, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
And
Wow.
he's similar to me in that he's a young up and coming comedian and also has a lot of like cultural content, which is another kind of route
Hmm.
that I go on. So a little, comparable and could definitely take inspiration, even though of course he's Latin and I'm
Sure. Sure.
Indian,
Sure.
but very similar.
Yeah.
So
I don't see color. So, I mean, how can I say?
we're all brown.
Well, I
So
mean, I keep on saying this, like, we all came out of Africa, black people, the original, and still the best. I don't know. That's. Is that cultural appropriation? I don't know. I feel like I should be able to say that, but anyway, I'm the patriarchy. The white bitch smashed me, smashed me. I don't know. I've got to be careful. I'll be cancelled. Really, you should cancel me.
Oh
No.
no.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, well, wonderful to hear about these people who have had such a big impact on your life. And so then on to our fourth question, which is about how drugs affect your perception of reality. Now, of course, drugs as a term, in America they have drug stores, which you're from America. I mean, in the UK and probably also in America, you say drugs, it kind of means evil, illegal drugs. But, caffeine is a drug, ADHD medication is a drug, Ritalin is a drug, all the different things. Obviously don't share anything that you don't want to share, but just to give some examples, I think it was Callum Mackenzie talking about how caffeine is the thing that gets him up and gets him through the day. And I think Jay Yamaki was talking about anxiety drugs, and there's all sorts of substances that are available. Sometimes people, I mean, Pete Holmes on his podcast is always promoting supposedly legal drugs for boosting creativity. Is your body a temple? What kind of substances come through and affect how you live your life?
Yeah, no, definitely I am I'm a gym girl. I'm a gym girly. I'm
Okay.
always, I'm on my Pilates gym
Ah,
stuff,
okay.
particularly very, cognizant of what I'm eating and stuff. I think
Mm,
if I had any one vice at this age, it's just I like wine. I'll have my little
wine.
glass of wine when I go to my
Yeah.
coffee if I didn't drive.
Mm-hmm.
Um I'll have like a glass of wine because sometimes it just like, I don't know. I guess it's a mental thing. I don't think it really
Sure.
does anything, but takes
Mm.
the edge off. Um, but other than that, I mean, personally, not really. I guess the
No,
only
sure.
drug I really take is Advil, ibuprofen.
Right, right.
But I have actually, what is the honest truth is that when I was in college,
Mm.
and younger. I very much, well, the Juul and the vape had just come out. This was
Ah,
like a
okay.
thing. It wasn't something that was like known, in whatever 2017. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a popular thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I had definitely like gotten hooked on it and had to really like get off of it because it looks like a toy, right? And it just
Mm, mm,
I feel that every person that gets hooked on that thinks that it's not going to happen to them. Like for some
mm.
reason, we all think we're special,
Right,
and
right,
like
right.
I couldn't get addicted,
Uh-huh,
and then it
uh-huh.
happens. And so that was a big struggle that I had, but very much like before I even got into, comedy. But
Sure.
I think that, for actually on my previous point, the comedy being a lot of times in a bar or
Yeah,
a pub setting can be harmful if you're not careful.
yeah,
I think you really have to be cognizant of like what I mean, what day of the
yeah.
week it is,
Sure,
like
sure,
I love like to have my little drink on a Friday night, like whatever, because that's like
sure.
a fun night. Not only will we do the comedy, maybe we'll hang out after fun.
Right, right, right.
But I think it's important to be cognizant of how much alcohol you're intaking on other days and in general. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think a lot of comedians do struggle with this, and I think Laura Kelly most recently on the podcast was talking about her struggles with alcohol. Thanks so much to her for sharing that. And other people have talked about. I think Dan Morris talked about liking to have basically a pint and a half before he goes on stage is like works for him. When you mentioned the wine, is that so you might have a glass of wine before you go on stage? Is that kind of like a pattern, or no, or more? It's more like
No, no, no.
afterwards. Afterwards.
Not really. Like I wouldn't say I mean, most of the time I don't drink at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But if it's a fun like evening and it's like a
Yeah.
night, I I'll have like a glass of wine that I'll have throughout the evening. So I have something to sip on while I'm watching other people.
Right.
It's not for my comedy or performance. Like
Okay.
I don't think because I mean, yeah, no, I don't think I've ever
Yeah, yeah.
been affected by it in my actual performance, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, I mean, it sounds great. It sounds like that's under control. You've got like a thing that you can enjoy. I mean, as you might know, I don't drink any alcohol
Right.
anymore and haven't for like 3.5 years and so on. And yeah, I think it is you suddenly doing comedy spend that much more time in drinking establishments. And I think, yeah, for me, I got with a bit of an addictive personality. I find it very difficult to just have one. Like I think, generally, if I haven't had any alcohol, I've got pretty good willpower, as some people will say to me. What I find is if I've had one, that it basically unlocks my willpower, and I'm like, suddenly I can reason with myself, yeah, well, you should have a second one, and you should have a third one, you should have a fourth one, and so yeah. But that sounds like great if you can be in that place where you can have one and you can enjoy that, through the evening, and like you say, I mean, I think what you're saying there as well about being cognizant of what night of the
Yeah,
week it
I
is and
think
so
it's
on.
like more so even a like a thing that I would just do like at any kind of like social evening out,
Yeah, sure.
more so than this being like anything specific to comedy, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. But
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No. 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 And I think that was clear, and that's interesting. It also sounds like that maybe it doesn't have that much effect on you. I mean, like with Dan Morris, sort of finding that I think certainly, yeah, all of these things affect people differently. I mean, the other things that you mentioned there as well, like I mean, I don't really know much about vaping. When I was growing up, and I had a period between like what was it? Probably between 18 to 25 where I was addicted to cigarettes, but then the vapes didn't exist, and I found it extremely difficult to give up smoking, and I was enormously relieved when I finally did it, and I've been clean for many 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 years. But yet the vape I'm not even familiar with it, the vape duel. This was a
oh,
particular
it is the
kind of.
worst thing ever invented.
Really, wow.
I always think like, I never wish, I only wish ill will on two people in this
uh
world.
okay.
One is obviously Donald Trump.
Okay.
And two,
That was
and
me thinking you were his biggest fan. No, no, go, but go on. Yeah, and
one is Donald Trump, and two is whoever the hell invented this damn vape. I think it's so harmful, and it's even more heartbreaking to see that kids now, like
mm,
younger and younger, are getting hooked onto it. I'm sorry, I know it has nothing to do with comedy, really,
but
but it is crazy to see that young middle school, like secondary school kids
sure, sure.
are like getting access to this and getting hooked on. I see sometimes outside my office
Yeah.
the school kids walking in their uniform, hitting their little, I don't know, strawberry ice
Right.
slushy, like whatever.
Incredible.
And I can't even imagine how harmful this must be for their bodies and their brains growing up from such a young age. Like I,
Right.
I got introduced to this when I was like 19, 20.
Mm,
Like, and
mm,
I got off of it by the time I was like 22.
mm.
So it was like a college kind of phase for
Right.
me.
Right.
But for now, I'm seeing other kids are going through this college, what was a college phase for me at the age of 12. It's
Right,
insane.
right. Well, the equivalent when I was growing up was this Alco Pops thing that was being introduced, which is basically, packaging alcohol, but in, fruity flavors, just basically everything, doing
Oh,
everything to do. That was the big thing, 20, 30 years ago, what have you. But yeah, so with vaping and this, so you encounter this vaping, not from you, like some people, they're like trying to give up smoking, but like from what you're describing, it sounds like some people are just encountering vaping as, oh, that's a cool thing. And basically it's just nicotine, right? That's what they're
yeah,
getting?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
just 18. And but the thing is, I think I think that it being really brought into the world as this smoking cessation kind of solution, really, it's just enabling people to
Right.
smoke nicotine more easily.
Mm, mm.
Because you don't need to go outside. You don't need
Right.
any tools. You don't
Hmm.
need anything. You just
Mm,
need
mm.
this one thing. And so, and even you back on the point of the kids, is that kids can basically use it and their parents would never know.
Right, right, right.
There's no way to detect it.
Yeah, yeah. There's no
So,
like smell of the tobacco and burning tobacco and so on. And so, I mean, I think that the listeners may be interested because maybe some people are like, oh, I could make a vape. I'll have a vape, and but what was it? I mean, I guess when you were doing it, can you describe the attraction to it and why it then ended up seeming so difficult to stop? Did was it just like you found yourself
no.
unrelentingly go and grab another one, or how did it work?
I am a very anxious person, and I've like just always dealt with really pretty severe, serious anxiety,
I'm
except I'm
sorry.
not, on any kind of medication or anything
Yeah,
for
I mean,
it.
you come across as amazingly confident. So, I mean, it's a surprise to hear that. But yeah, I think many people do suffer from anxiety and cover it up. And you found that the vape sort of helped with the anxiety.
So, no, the truth was it's an illusion. I think it's
Uh-huh.
almost a placebo effect where you feel this,
Uh,
maybe a instant feeling of like relaxation, I guess, for a second.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
almost like a deep breath, I would say.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But I I basically had tricked myself into thinking that this was helping my anxiety when in reality it wasn't. I would say it was just making it worse,
Mm.
if
Mm-hmm.
anything. So yeah, I think that it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally an illusion. Like I don't think it actually is able to help anyone for anything. It's a horrible, horrible
Mm,
thing.
mm, mm, mm. And yeah, no, no, I'm being educated, and I think hopefully some of the listeners as well. And so, what was the trick then that allowed you? What was the breakthrough that allowed you to give it up?
Um, I'm trying to remember really because this was so many years ago. I'm
Mm,
trying to remember what was it. I think I essentially had recognized how that this was not helping my anxiety in any way.
right.
It
Okay.
was just making me feel worse. I really just realized that. And I actually I used the nicotine patch
Oh,
to
did you?
like
Okay.
get over. I didn't go like cold turkey. I did this in an organized way. At
Mm,
the time, I was still in college, and my boyfriend really supported me
mm,
through that, as well as my parents. And so yeah, because it also was killing my appetite, like so much so
mm,
I was so thin.
mm.
And it was almost like when I ate and how much I ate was entirely dependent on that.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, that it just became really bad. I was starting to feel nasty on the inside, you know?
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So, and then actually, when I did get off it, I have to be real, like I did gain a whole bunch of weight because I was eating, and I'm a great cook and I love cooking. So I
Mm,
was eating my heart out. And I'm glad that I did because
yeah.
it was a healthy way. I wasn't doing anything unhealthy. So it was a healthy way
Yeah.
for me to recover. So it wasn't until about after that kind of semester of me quitting
Right.
that then I went home and I was like, all right, now I actually have to pay attention to like what I'm eating because I
Right.
have the
Right.
capacity to eat food.
Sure. Sure.
And
Sure.
this made me work out a little and get into the groove of things.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I mean, there's such a premium on like people being thin, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this, obsessive with for thinness. And I mean, also on the vape front, I mean, my equivalent sort of was with, I might have told the story before, with smoking cigarettes and having a sore throat and smoking and thinking, oh, that was so unpleasant. I mustn't have another one today. And then still, like, I was just sort of instinctively doing it, and then had to make some sort of plan to get out. It sounds like you're saying you used the nicotine patches, and but then eating more, which is good. Got to eat to live, and then but getting to the gym, which is, and this is, I mean, this is another thing that sort of changed enormously since I was growing up. When I mean, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, definitely going to the gym, but it didn't. I don't know. They weren't. It wasn't quite so big. It seems to me that some people occasionally went to the gym back then, but really it was all about going out and drinking and smoking. That's what everybody was doing.
mhm.
And these days it's all turned around. Like in Harrow where I live, all of the many of the there's the pubs that were on the corners have been turned into flats or have been turned into gyms. It's just it's really switched around, and now gym culture is sort of a huge thing, and everybody's doing it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Class Pass. I have that app Class Pass. So you can go and take different workout classes and stuff all around the city and
Mm,
try out new gyms and stuff. So yeah, I absolutely love it. Let me know if you need a referral code. 'Cause
okay, cool thing.
then we both get free credits.
Oh, fantastic. Good to know. Well, maybe my kid. It's my. See, I mean, I tend to. I was it begrudge the time. Like I think in time management because so as I mentioned, I'm starting a new job on Monday. But no, like I think for me, I've got like free weights in the house, and I tend to try and build like exercise into the day, and the kind of like the actual traveling to and from the gym is like time that I'm like, I mean, this is partly as a result of having a family and kids and so on. And you just become
Of
very,
course.
very, very time sensitive. The kids are all on their way
But
out,
you
and so
are so fit. You're always running and doing all this great white people stuff.
it's. Did you say white people stuff?
Like running and like canoeing and things,
Right,
you
right.
know?
This is triathlon and so on. I think it's called the midlife crisis, and many middle-aged men
No,
do go
I
through it.
envy. I need to do more of that, like trekking and stuff. That's
Right.
I
Yeah.
need to get into the Caucasian activities.
No, the
Good for me.
cardio is important because I think if it's just the well. you know, all of these things, getting out there, getting outdoors in nature, absolutely fantastic. But for my kids, I sort of, you know, partly I think going to the gym is an excuse to be somewhere where they can look at their phones and not be criticized for it. But that's another story. Um, I mean, I think it's, you know, I just, I think it's so much better for the youth of today that they are, you know, kind of body positive in gyms and doing exercise rather than the old smoking and drinking in pubs that
Oh
was,
yeah.
you know, the staple of Britain for so.
That's true, actually. I think that like going to the gym and being healthy has now become cool
Yeah, yeah,
in a way. I think
indeed
that is
so.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's funny because I think it wasn't kind of like uncool, but it almost wasn't seen as a leisure activity. It was like something you had to do, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't bother to do that." Whereas actually now, kind of for you know, I mean, I think a son of a friend, like he was going to meet up with, and he's like 22 or something, going to meet up, but rather than meeting up in a pub, what they did is they all went to a new town and went to a big gym there together, and that was their, you know, going out activity, which is
That's nice.
so much healthier. Um, it's you know, it's been a fantastic conversation, but we're coming towards the last question, which is one of my favorites, which is what does it all mean? You know, this life, this universe, this everything. I mean, take this question as you will. I mean, some people, I think we had an Arab comic, Insa Tofi, saying, "Oh, you white middle class people asking, it doesn't, you know." When there's, you know, things to Trump, Palestine. I mean, you know, when I say what does it all mean, maybe the meaning is to try and, you know, free the oppressed, or but it could be, you know, what's the is this? Did you feel like you're living in a simulation? Is there some religious back underpinning to the things that you think? Like, how do you make sense of this crazy, mixed up world in which we live?
I actually was having a similar conversation yesterday
Mm,
with my boyfriend about just religion, the world, and what we
mm,
think.
mm.
And I guess I maybe have a little bit of an unorthodox view.
Do
Um,
tell.
I I love the institution of religion that it teaches us what sometimes is right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
However, sometimes I personally think there can be arbitrary rules in religion
Mm-hmm.
that, of course, as we know, anybody in any sect of any religion can take way too far. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so and I personally don't actually believe in that there is any real God, so to say. There is some Big Bang, some scientific entity that, why we're all here.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I've come to peace with the fact that I don't know how to find that out, and we're
Mm.
just here. So for me, I mean, my parents, I'm an only child. My
Ah,
parents have literally done everything for me. So I would say if there was any God for me, I see God in my parents because
right,
they are the ones, I don't even feel right like thanking a God. I thank my parents.
right.
Like this is their like I am the
Their effort.
product of
Mm-hmm.
what they have made me. So I very much respect them in that
Mm-hmm.
way. And yeah, I really just think that my goal in my life is just to be
Mm-hmm.
happy, be comfortable. And that's really all we can ask for, right?
Uh-huh.
On this earth, like just sometimes I feel like, yeah, nothing really matters. Like nothing really matters. As long as you're happy, like that's
Uh-huh.
all that matters because we're all gonna die one day. Like it's
We certainly, I mean, we certainly are. It's well, although my kids are repeatedly talking about how they might be the last generation to not die because I mean, again, this is I think they're watching too much
they're
YouTube
gonna get
and
frozen.
they get frozen. Or I think that there's this idea that maybe you know within a few decades, basically we'll all have like little nano robots that can go in our bodies and like cure cancer and fix everything. And I mean, you know, to be honest, that stuff was being talked about.
Possibility for
I mean, it
sure.
was being talked about in the 60s and 70s. It's an interesting thought experiment. It's yeah, I don't know. I mean, what's strange about that is the idea that you know maybe there is something after we die. I mean, I'm not religious. I mean, I start to be almost saying that am I a bit spiritual? But you know, I really have I'm influenced by what Pete Holmes says on his podcast, which is that you know why does an afterlife make more or less sense than this life? Do you know what I mean? Like this life is a kind of like a really weird thing that we popped into, and there was a thing, okay,
Yeah,
and it doesn't really make sense. Like I mean, you know, it's a bit like, I mean. I was talking about. Was I talking about this? Oh, I've been talking about stage recently. But I've been in Japan when I first went to Japan back in the day, and it was just so weird. But then after 4 or 5 days, kind of settled down, and then after like a couple of years of living there, it was like it just became normal. So like you know this. the world is, I mean, if you spend a lot of time looking at a tree, it's like, wow, it's actually, it's really weird, but then they're also totally normal. So we kind of like, there's this, like, well, as let's say adults walking around in this whatever it is, we start to say, oh yeah, well, it sort of makes sense. Like the government is shit, and like Donald Trump's go crazy, and I mean, there's a kind of like, but actually none of it kind of why exist at all, why should there be anything? I mean, I guess where have I gone there, it's like, so there could be something else afterwards. Yeah, I've totally lost my thread there. I've got so excited in my own brain. What's going on?
No, there could be. I mean, but even in that, like the possibility of there being some kind of afterlife, like I have just, I don't know, I'm just at peace with not knowing. And I
Right.
just, yeah, as long as I'm happy and healthy and
Yeah.
having fun in this
That
life. Like, I know that sounds so like what a
no, no,
Nepo baby thing to say or something.
well, it
Come
starts to
on.
sound, it sounds to me very enlightened. I think being happy not knowing, I think that's the thing, is I think for some people it's a real they feel unsettled that,
Yeah.
to give me the framework, like, from institutionalized religion. Oh, if I behave this way, I will get my afterlife insurance to do this, that, and another. But I think it is, it's that's the thing I often say to my kids is, and they're encountering all sorts of religious and spiritual ideas online and from their friends and this and another. And I said, like, lots of people can talk very confidently that they know what's going on, but does anybody really know what's going on? It's so much easier to talk confidently than to
No,
suggest we don't. Yeah,
even
go on.
with that, like the afterlife and whatever it is, I mean, at the end of the day, and I guess there must, there will be, of course, religious people and stuff who will disagree with me, and that's fine. But in my idea, it's just science. Like whatever it is, it's scientifically, it's going to happen the same way to all of us. Like one person, in my mind, is not going to go to one heaven, somebody else go to another heaven. I just don't think that is a reality, like in my world at least.
No, no.
And so, I think that everybody whatever it is, it's just it's just science. And so, and we have decided what, as humans, we've essentially decided what is good and bad, right?
Mm.
And like that scientific entity, whatever it is, I don't think it's going to have the same opinions as us or any opinions at all, maybe. Like this is just a process of things. So that, I don't know, as we get deep into this, I guess I'm just thinking into it that really I don't even know if like because we always see bad things happen to good people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I've kind of remembered what I was trying to say before, which was to connect if so I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised by anything. Like if when I die, they take off the headset and they're like, right, that was round one for your interview at Baby Foods. Get ready for the
That would be
now
crazy.
the culture fit. That the entire life was actually a simulation that was part of some job interview. Could be, or I mean, if I die and there is like people going to heaven and hell. I mean, it's in an infinite universe, anything is possible and absolutely everything must happen in some, so maybe that is happening somewhere, but no, but the point I'm trying to come back to with this, so I was talking about how my kids talking about how maybe this generation would never die if there is an after. I mean, I've got this, my thoughts about death are kind of like, I start to think like actually it's a kind of important thing to go through. Like our mortality is kind of, that's what everybody has been doing. And I think 30 years ago or 20 years ago, I might have said, oh yeah, if there's some sort of scientific advance that allows me to live forever, absolutely sign me up. Whereas I don't know, I start to think there's something important about coming to terms with accepting our mortality.
Well, in Hinduism, technically, like I was raised to technically believe that you as a person based on like being a human
Yes.
um is like the highest form, right? So
Mm,
first you start off as like an ant, and then
right.
you did a really good job at being an ant, and then,
Oh,
so then
I look back to my ant days and thinking they were so much simpler. Yes.
there's definitely going to be some like really good Hindus that are listening to this, like the what is this girl talking about? But it's something like this, where
Yeah.
it's essentially at the end you reach what is called moksha, I think,
Right.
and it's yeah, you're just like the eternal being, and you are like one with God because you did good deeds, like karma, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
This is
Right. Right.
basically the cycle of karma. So I guess some people believe you can essentially be reborn, like as another
Yes. Yes.
person or an animal or whatever it might be. Which I guess is also
Yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't be surprised, if I come back as a seagull, I'll be kind of, I mean, there's all sorts of things could happen, and I guess the thing that's, I've been listening a lot to Alan Watts and also Eckhart Tolle and so on. There's this idea that somehow that we're all God. Like, I mean, like you were saying, I mean, I don't believe in a sort of like, lifeguard father figure God who's
Yeah.
sort of sitting there on a cloud
Yeah,
saying,
same
"Oh, I
here.
don't like that behavior. Stop masturbating, you." I mean, none of that. I mean, actually, I haven't been doing it for a while, but no, that's another story. No, what was I talking about? Yeah, oh gosh, my brain. Maybe I do need ADHD medication. Oh yeah, but like the idea is that there is kind of like one consciousness, right? And
Yeah.
effectively there's like one universal consciousness, which is the entire universe, and it's playing peekaboo with itself. So it's like decided to be momentarily Simi or Sam and effectively like our personalities and the personality of this pen and the ant and the water bottle, they're all kind of like different incarnations of God exploring what it's like to be each of these things. And in order to properly, authentically fill the role, it has to forget that it's God for the lifespan of the thing. And then at the end, you kind of go back to being this universal consciousness, which it's an interesting fairy story. But the interesting thing is there's no scientific evidence for or against it. You can't
Yeah.
disprove it or prove it, and so it just seems like everything's possible. And yeah, it's right.
Sometimes I do envy people who have conviction in their
Oh yeah.
religion or God, though. I
Mm,
do envy that. Even though it's not what I believe in, I certainly am like never looking upon people who are religious like, oh, what a fool. Like I actually am
mm,
like, wow, I wish I had like that much, conviction in
mm,
faith or in the answer, right?
mm.
But it's a complicated world. Anything could be out there.
Yeah, it's the possibilities of the infinite universe. Yes, I mean the when you talk about I guess for people with faith, I always find myself a little bit nervous of people who are so sure about one thing. Like that's always I'm kind of like for me, it's openness to every possibility is the kind of the key thing in order to get the most out of life. But I've had the debates backwards and forwards with different religious people in the past, a long time ago now, about how actually if you do have strong faith, that allows you to experience the world in this way. And I guess it's horses for courses. Simi, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
I'm sure that the audience will now be on the very edge of their seats, on the lip of their rims of whatever it is that I'm not sure what I'm talking about, to know how they can find out more about you. What's the best way to hear about all of your upcoming shows and all the things you're doing?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram. Simi Rajani is funny is
I
my
agree.
Instagram.
I
It's a full
agree.
sentence.
Mm,
And my Tube Comedy London page. Please come out also to the Hindi show in Harrow if you're listening because it
mm.
is really popping and it's new and so we're building it and each week is just getting better and better. And yeah, those are my no my main channels of announcements.
Fantastic, fantastic. We'll make sure that all of those are in the show notes. And thanks everyone for listening. And remember, you can help support comedians on technology, people, and drugs by going to patreon.com/comedians on, where any level of support will help us continue to produce this show. I still don't think anyone's given us the support, so you could be the first. Please do follow our Facebook group and comment or ask questions there or on Spotify. We'd love to hear from you, and we look forward to being in your ears again soon. Last word to our fantastic guest, Simi Rajani.
Um, I guess based on our conversation, I would just say have fun in your life, be happy, and if for any reason you're not, then do something to change that. Take action.